scam and you fell for it. Let's jump right into it. We've been taught to compete. If you do not understand your competition in your industry, you will lose in the game of business. That's what we've been taught. This is a scam. What's crazy about this scam is it's actually an illusion. Here's what I mean. So what truly leads to the spirit of competition? Either greed or fear. Let me explain. In order to compete, you first have to adopt a scarcity mindset. Why? Because in a competition, the goal cannot be shared. They are only giving one gold medal for the 100-meter dash at the Olympics. What will drive you to push for that goal? Well, either greed or fear. You see, the definition of greed is an intense selfish desire for something. That is what will push you to go for something that is so scarce. Or fear of missing out. But all of that only matters if you have a scarcity mindset. Here's the dilemma. In order to truly grow your business, you must adopt an abundance mindset. Why? Because the truth is, when you think of billions, you think of abundance. In order to get abundance, you must serve lots and lots of people and also possess faith. See, faith in collaboration, faith in working together. Even though media wants you to believe that every billionaire is greedy, I want you to understand that they only received those billions because they had to serve in some capacity, and a very large capacity at that. The consumer put them there by paying with their dollars. Either way, abundance and scarcity are complete opposites. So how can having a scarcity mindset get you to abundance? Exactly, it can't. That's the point. In order to get to abundance, you must have collaboration. There are no billionaire solopreneurs. I see this principle in play out in scripture. Do you remember the story about Eve eating the fruit in Genesis? So Adam and Eve were created, and Eve, she was taking a nice stroll in the garden, away from Adam, might I add. And she found herself by the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the tree that God deliberately told her not to eat from. Anyway, a cunning serpent was there at the tree, and he deceived her with a lie. He convinced her to accept a scarcity mindset, which is instead of focusing on all the trees that she could freely eat from, he had her focus on the one goal, the one tree that she couldn't eat from, scarcity. So then he said she would be like God. Why does she even want to be like God? Sounds like a little competitive spirit in there for me. Either way, she was convinced and ate the fruit, and look where we are today. Okay? The next generation had Cain killing Abel, and the human race hasn't been the same since. The other issue with competition is in order to compete, you must compare yourself or your business to another business. Here's the problem. When you look at a business that you believe is better than yours in doing whatever they're doing, it can cause you to be distracted from your own strength. In other words, by focusing on their green grass on the other side of the road, you aren't watering your bushes in your yard. You can't look at the car next to yours and look where you're going at the same time. You have to slow down to see what's next to you. Ever been in a very long traffic jam? And when you finally get to the end of the traffic jam, you discover that the cause of the traffic jam is everyone looking at the accident that's not even blocking the road anymore. No one else is annoyed. Is that just me? I get super annoyed by this, okay? The Jacob and Leah and Rachel saga is another example. See, Jacob loved Rachel so much he worked 7 years to marry her. His father-in-law deceived him and gave him Leah to marry instead, then made him work another 7 years for Rachel. Anyway, now Jacob has 2 wives. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to move on. But he loves Rachel more than Leah. God saw that Leah was hated and opened her womb, but didn't open Rachel's. Rachel's. So now Leah is having babies all over the place and Rachel is not. So Rachel is feeling some type of way about this and comes up with this great idea of Jacob having children with her handmaiden. Why? Because she wanted to compete with Leah. Anyway, Jacob had many sons and eventually God opened up Rachel's womb. Now here's what's crazy. All those sons end up throwing Rachel's son Joseph in the pit and selling him off to slavery. How's that for a successful story? Now, I understand that God used that at the end for good, but do not think for a moment that was an endorsement for a competitive strategy. Now, you might be saying, Koana, I hear what you are saying, but in business, large companies use competition to get where they are. I can hear you think. I know that's what you're thinking. But give me a few moments to unpack this for you. Let's look at Netflix and Blockbuster. Blockbuster was already a $1 billion company when Netflix came on the scene. What's crazy is Blockbuster is no more and Netflix is still thriving. Why is that? Your first reaction is competition, I'm sure. Netflix beat them out. But did you know that when Netflix was so-called small fries, they tried to collaborate with Blockbuster? And guess what? Blockbuster shut them down. Why? Because we are worth billions, said Blockbuster, and Netflix, you are mere millions. You are not worthy of collaborating with the big boys. I'm sure they said it a little differently. Either way, that, my friend, was the beginning of Blockbuster's downfall, and they didn't even know it. Now, you may be saying, see, Koana, Blockbuster didn't pay attention to their competition, and that's what led to their fall. I would challenge that, and I would say that it's because they turned down the opportunity to collaborate, and that's what caused their fall. See, Netflix, on the other hand, worked to get other partnerships. Netflix partnered with Star's Deal in 2008, and that's when they pivoted from their DVD rentals to a streaming technology. By the time Blockbuster understood the assignment and tried to compete, it was too late. They were closed down by 2010. Just 2 years later. I feel like you're still not convinced. Well, Blockbuster just woke up to their competition too late. Okay, well, consider this. What if by focusing on competition as a solution to your business growth, you are missing out on a solution that can cut your hustling time down by more than half? What if instead of taking 10 years to make $1 million, you can do it in less than half the time by far? Let me show you what I mean. In the scriptures, there's another story about a lame man at the pool of Bethesda. He was there for 38 years. That's right. 38 years, y'all. That's a long time to be at a pool. But the idea was the pool of Bethesda would be troubled by an angel. And when that happened, the first person in the pool would be healed. So can you just imagine that whole place when the waters of Bethesda was troubled? People were probably fighting each other, climbing over each other to get in first. Why? Because that's what competition does. Anyway, Jesus shows up to the lame man and asks him, do you want to be healed? The lame man doesn't say yes. And he doesn't even say no. He starts giving excuses. He said, I have no man to put me in the pool. Why? Because we're dealing with the spirit of competition right now. And when I go to the pool, another man steps before me. Why? Because of the spirit of competition. Let's unpack that for a bit. He had two strategies that he has been trying for 38 years, and they haven't been working. He tries to do it himself. That doesn't work. And naturally, there is no one to collaborate with because the solution that is being chased is competition. The solution to the problem was to compete and get ahead. Well, this man would tell you that after 38 years of trying to compete, it just doesn't work. But you know what did work? Collaboration. See, Jesus was not concerned about the pool or competing. He didn't stay there and then help him get into the pool faster in order to be healed. Why? Because Jesus understood that competition just doesn't work. Instead, he came up with a completely different solution. He said, rise, take up thy bed, and walk. Imagine the surprise on people's faces when the man got up and walked after 38 years of failing with the scam of competition strategy. Okay? The Jews then said to him, "It's not lawful for you to carry your bed on the Sabbath day." Listen. When you change from a competitive scarcity mindset and adopt a collaborative abundance mindset, people will look at you sideways and then find reasons to hate on your success. Just as that man was free from his lame life for 38 years, I'm trying to deliver some freedom to you. Here's another example of collaboration beating out the likes of competition. Let's go to the garden. Do you notice that a natural forest thrives so much better than a conventional farming plot of land? When I take a long road trip, the hills and the mountains are covered in trees that no one planted. They naturally grew there. Do you notice that there are variations of different trees in a forest? Why is that? Because the diversity of plants bring different minerals into the ecosystem. When one plant takes nutrients from the ground, another plant puts it in. It's a natural form of companion gardening, or in other words, collaboration. The ecosystem can work together. Now, with conventional farming, or competing farming, if you will, why do I call it competing farming? Because the farmer is competing with other farmers to have the biggest and most amount of whatever it is they are farming. They can be the biggest producer of whatever they are producing. So you end up with rows and rows of the same plant. It may seem like you're being more efficient and getting a bountiful harvest, but the nutritional value of the plant has depleted. And let's not start talking about how there are pests that come and then we have to spray chemicals to keep the pests away. Why? Because competition is a scam. Let's talk about the alternatives. If you are not competing, then what are you doing? Okay, here is the strategy. Think collaboration. Think about all the businesses that are serving your avatar as your co-laborers. When you do this, you will start to find that your unique skills or service or product that you can bring to the table will enhance your shared customer or client's experience. What do I mean? Remember I mentioned supplements earlier because of competing farming tactics? Well, a client of mine decided to create and sell health supplements. However, she couldn't do the marketing, make the sale, and then go fulfill all the orders herself. She would be burnt out. Not to mention, she didn't have all the machinery needed to make the products quickly. So in the spirit of collaboration, she met someone with all the machines needed and the know-how on how to create the products. She didn't look at this person as a competitor, which many people would have. She instead said, let's collaborate. And they combined their product offerings. And now she makes the sales and her partner creates the products and none of them are burnt out. And their shared clientele are served at a higher level because they came together. So let's break this concept into easy steps for you to follow. Since you are very aware of your competition, step 1 is to start calling them your co-laborer. They are your unofficial partner. Step 2. Look at the gaps that they are not filling for your shared client, the ones that you are excellent at, and think about fulfilling them. Step 3, start marketing yourself as the key person of influence or expert in that specific niche, that same gap that you discovered. Once you have established yourself, go to step 4. Start pitching to officially partner with your co-laborers so that you can officially start sharing your customers and clientele. And step 5, wash, rinse, repeat. Quit competing and collaborate instead. Do this, I'm telling you, it will change your life and you will gain your freedom and you will go into the land of abundance. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And tell me if you are going to take these steps where are you going to begin and what industry you're in? Come on, talk to me in the comments because I am curious to know. And then I will see you in the next video.